diamonds in the rough. NFL Draft Diamonds. Time to shine.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and we are the scouting staff for the Hula Bowl. Today, I have with me one of the players who actually participated in this year's event. His name is Alex Cook. He's a safety out of Washington. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, Jimmy.
So we had you at that event. Dude, to be quite honest with you, I really loved our safeties that we had at our game this season. But I want to give you the opportunity to just get your name out there more, share your story. So give us a bit of the backdrop, if you don't mind. Tell me where you're from and how you ultimately got to Washington.
Yeah, I went to Shelton High School up in Sacramento, California. Played, both sides of the ball in high school. Played basketball, ran track, did the whole thing. So coming out of high school, I was actually recruited on both sides initially. It was about 60% safety and 40% receiver. And actually, Washington offered me as a receiver, so I actually came as a receiver in my first 2 years. And the year I switched over, we had just played in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. It was actually my first start at receiver. Was the last time I was going to play receiver. So in 2019, I ended up switching to defensive back. And it was kind of like redshirting all over again, learning how to backpedal and, learning how to tackle people. It was just a whole learning experience that entire year. But I had guys like Keith Taylor, Brandon McKinney, Elijah Molden, and Miles Bryant to kind of teach me and, show me the ways of playing DB. Washington, they're really known for producing DB, so I feel like I was in good hands and, wasn't really hesitant on my decision to switch to DB. But yeah, 2019 was just a super big learning experience. And, I felt like I progressed so much, not only in the off season, but throughout the season as I was learning how these guys were operating in game time and how they were operating in practice. By the time 2020 came, I was able to, break the starting lineup. I started the first 3 games of the season, got banged up a little bit, ended up not playing the 4th game, and our season got cut short. We only had 4 games during 2020, and I kind of had this weird feeling that year because, I didn't play the last game of the season, and that was I felt like I wasn't the starter going into the next season. So, I think it worked out because, it just made me more hungry, made me want to get after it a lot more and, reprove myself again. And that's what I did. The whole entire offseason going into the 2021 season was crazy because I had this crazy back injury. I had inflammation in my spine and I could barely walk. Obviously couldn't run, couldn't work out, couldn't do anything for about 3-4 months, right up until fall camp. They cleared me right up until fall camp, probably a day or two before. And I even thought about medically retiring and just calling it quits because I was just in so much pain and I didn't want to have to go through all the pain again. And, something was telling me just to fight through it. And that's what I did. And, fall camp was a struggle because I hadn't worked out in 3 or 4 months. So I'm out there, going against the 1s and 2s and just getting absolutely toasted. I'm just so out of shape and I just feel like garbage. And it really wasn't until the last maybe 3 or 4 days of fall camp where I started to get my feet from underneath me again and I started to, kind of get my juju back. And the coaches had to make a hard decision. And they were like, we feel like you didn't earn the starting spot. I was like, yeah, I feel like I didn't earn either, to be honest. I said, if I get the opportunity, I'm gonna make the most of it in the game. So we ended up going it was almost like a three safety rotation at the same position the first 2 games. Really, the first game. First game was a three safety rotation, and I did all right. Held my own. I looked like I was doing something out there. And then the second game we had to play Michigan. They actually put me as a starter in the first 2 series of the game, and I actually did really well. And I feel like I did really well that game, and the coaches think I did really well that game, and they end up naming me the starter for the rest of the season. And that kind of carried into my final season as well. So this, if you want to, I mean, there's a lot of people saying the weaknesses of Alex Good, this and that. Like, dude, I'm still learning how to play defensive back at the end of the day. So, you take that with a grain of salt.
Well, I mean, we obviously felt like you had a lot going for you as a player, as a prospect. We invited you to the Hula Bowl so that you can showcase that talent. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, yeah, I mean, there were some doubters, but I mean, this past season, I mean, you come out and you actually do a really great job. I mean, being named, I want to say you were second team all conference this past season, depending on whose list you look at, because there's so many of them. But of course, you go out there, you do a great job, and then we extend the invite to get you to actually come all the way to Orlando, Florida. So talk about this, man. I mean, we gave that invite. How did you receive that? And tell me about like that travel from Washington all the way to Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, when I got the call, I believe it was from Damon. I was just super excited and just beyond grateful for the opportunity just to continue playing football. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Just how can I extend my football career? Whether this is, I don't know. I know a lot of people were talking at the Hula Bowl. They were like, "This could be our last time put on the pads." And I really thought about that. I was like, dang. I mean, this is the last time I put on pads. I'm beyond grateful that I got to do that. But yeah, the flight to Orlando is just it was it was a struggle because that is a very, I don't know if people watching this geographic wise, like that is a very, very long flight. It is super long.
Oh
So
yeah.
I actually flew into Denver first, which is about 3.5 hours from Washington, and I had to fly another 3.5 hours to Florida. It was just, I don't even think I ate because I was just
Well,
so
I mean,
tired.
if you think about it, I mean, dude, it's almost literally like the longest distance, like, from the, 48, congruous states, like it's just kind of wild because you have to do a layover somewhere,
Yeah.
um, just to kind of gather yourself, I would imagine. Um, but you made it down there. And again, like I said, I mean, we felt that you're a legitimate, draft prospect. So just kind of want to get your feedback a little bit, at least on that. Like, this process right now, it is what it is. How are you taking things, with that whole idea about you being this guy who maybe might hear his name called come draft time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really thinking about the draft so much, just kind of, just going with the flow with the whole training process and, trying to control what I can control at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know who wants me. I don't know who doesn't want me. I don't know any of that. And I'm not really tripping about that. All I can control is how fast I run that 40-yard dash, how high I jump, how hard I work to get to the times and to the measurements and everything that I want. So just kind of controlling that and see where that takes me.
Gotcha. Well, for people who don't know you as a player, obviously, like you said, I mean, you were a wide receiver and a DB at the same time, and then you ended up making the switch full time there to defense. And so Talk to me about what you feel is like the best thing that you bring to the table as a prospect. Is it really that idea that you do have that offensive mindset still, or is there something else that you feel like you bring to the table like more so than others?
Yeah, I definitely do think that's one of the best attributes to me as a football player. Just simply because I just know how offensive coordinator thinks. When I was playing receiver, I can almost anticipate what our OC was going to call in the game and, during practice. So, I'm lining up, getting my splits ready before he even signals the play call in because I know what he's going to call on certain down and distances. And I kind of carry that over when I was playing defense. When I initially, it's so funny because when I initially switched over to defense, I was calling out the plays without even looking at the hand signal. I wasn't cheating, but I was kind of just calling out with the plays and anticipating things before they even happened. It all worked out, and people were like, "This he's freaking cheating." I was just like, "No, I just just got a feel for the game a little bit." And I mean, there's plenty of tape where it's like I kind of just knew what the play was going to be, and there's sometimes where that kind of bit me in the butt, where I'm kind of anticipating stuff a little too much and jumping things and making the wrong decisions. But I think football, especially DB,
Hey man, you got to take your risks, man.
you got to take your risk.
So I mean, I completely get it. Well, I mean, you are a well-seasoned veteran. I mean, you just finished your sixth year. So obviously that kind of comes with the territory, just kind of understanding your role, the offense and the defense. You're also a team captain. So talk to me for just a minute about what it means to represent your team and your school. So, and really what kind of leadership qualities you bring to the table.
Yeah, no, I'm really like the funny guy on the team. Like, I like to joke around, like have fun, but I also know when to snap back and lock in and you know hone in on whatever task we got in hand. But it was a very humbling experience when the team voted on me to be team captain because, like I said, like I like to joke around and have fun, but also I think my teammates recognize like when it's time to put on the pads, like this dude doesn't play, like he's ready to go. So I think it was a really humbling experience, and I was just beyond grateful that the team recognized me as a captain, and it was something I'll never take for granted.
So let's talk for a little bit about your university, about University of Washington. So you've been there for a while, obviously. So I would imagine you got at least one or two degrees under your belt, right?
Yeah, I majored in medical anthropology. I actually, I kind of messed up because I didn't know before I applied to post back. I didn't know I could do it. I choose a major or not a major, choose a master's program, and I was kicking myself in the head because when I applied and got accepted for post back, I couldn't go back and apply for a master's program, and I could have finished it before I even finished playing football at the UW. So I probably could have got 2 degrees and a master's. And I was just, I'm just kind of,
Well, that's all right. I mean, heck, I mean, I suppose you could always go back, but we'll, I guess cross that bridge whenever we come to it. But so obviously you were able to you said like anthropology? Is that what it
yeah,
was? That's
anthropology.
that's definitely not a degree that a lot of football players choose. So it definitely makes it fairly unique. What's the classes like there? What's like the most difficult class that you've ever taken?
The most difficult economics. Econ
Economics.
was pretty tough. I took micro econ. This was before I decided on my major. I was trying to do a lot of things. I was trying to do business. I was trying to do engineering, computer science. I'm really good with numbers, so I was trying to lean in on that route. But once so it was time to declare a major, I was looking at the class structures and everything was in the morning time when we were practicing. There was just no way I was going to be able to do that. And, growing up, I always wanted to be something either in the engineering field or, a doctor of some sort. and I kind of fell in love with the idea of being a chiropractor. And that's where, kinesiology and medical anthropology came into play. And yeah, I kind of just chose that route.
So is that what you see yourself doing? Like after football's done, is maybe being a chiropractor?
100%. Definitely
Interesting.
cool after football's all said and done.
All right. Well, let's steer back to football just a little bit there at UW. I mean, obviously, you're around a lot of great, talented players. Like you said, it's kind of a breeding ground for a lot of great defensive backs. Are there maybe a couple of guys that I don't know who do you feel has like been your most impressive teammate? Throughout your years there. I mean, give me maybe one or two names.
Elijah Molden and Miles Bryant. I gotta
Nice.
throw Taylor in there too, because that's one of my best friends.
But there's a lot of guys there. I mean, if people don't know, I mean, it's a breeding ground for great defensive backs. They've been able to mold you into the player that you are. And again, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, we wanted to invite you to the Hula Bowl. So, buddy, let's just talk about your Hula Bowl week, your Hula Bowl experience, if you don't mind. So, you come down here. I know it was a long freaking flight, but you get down here. There's a lot going on during the week. I mean, when you kind of look at like those things that you did fairly, like on a fairly regular basis, um, give me just a little bit of your experience overall. Like, what are some of your highlights?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about that whole experience was getting in front of scouts and just showing them who you are, and you know just just giving them your personality and just showing them you know why you're the person you are. And I felt like that was very beneficial on my end because I feel like there's a lot of distinguishing qualities about me that separate me from a lot of people. And so that was a really cool experience. And just bonding with the guys. There's people from all over the place, different backgrounds. I mean, we had a kid on our team literally from Japan, and it was just a dope experience. And just even though there was a bit of a language barrier, getting through that and then, understanding each other was probably the coolest thing I've ever experienced. Just little moments like that, even even like the late night Waffle House runs. I haven't been to Waffle House since I was a kid. So that was a pretty cool experience. And then my roommate snoring all night. I can't sleep. Gotta wake up next morning, go to practice. It was just a crazy experience to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a crapshoot with who you get as a roommate. I mean, I don't know how they made those decisions, but we don't know who's got sleep problems. We just kind of throw guys together. So I apologize for that one, and I guess I could figure out who it was, but obviously you dealt with that. You sat down, like you said, with a lot of people in several interviews. How did those interviews go? Were there any sort of I don't know, weird questions or anything, or was it mostly like background related stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there was no weird questions. It was all pretty formal, generic NFL scout questions. Just, who you are, where you're from. Yeah, but I think the coolest thing I did with one of the scouts was actually watch film on one of our games from this past season, and he was just asking me questions of what I saw and what I was thinking this play, and it all came back to me so fast, and it's just crazy how that works like that. But it was just really cool breaking down film with him because you break down film with your position coach, and he's really the main one talking. But now I was the main one talking, and I felt like a coach with me explaining what our defensive scheme was and how we were adjusting to the offense and what we were anticipating and all these things. And it just felt good. It just felt good to get in front of him and explain all that stuff.
Nice. Hey, that sounds like a great thing to be able to go out there and just say, "Hey, I know my stuff." So, ballpark, how many teams do you feel like you actually sat down with? Like all of them, or like you have a good idea of like how many interviews you had? Over
I
a
think
dozen?
I think it was a dozen teams. I think it was around 12 or 13 teams.
Okay, well, I mean that's obviously fair. I mean, you get in front of like several people and have those interviews. I think it's just great that you were able to break things down there in the film room there for sure. So, um, we're getting long here with this interview, but I do want to ask a couple more questions if you don't mind. Um, when you look at all of your career, way back from the beginning up until now, going through the Hula Bowl, what's going to stick out the most for you? I mean, is there a moment or a play or a game or something that really just you're going to cling to and remember forever?
Oh yeah, definitely the Oregon game. This past Oregon game, that was one of the craziest games I ever played. I've been a part of some crazy games where I'm on the sideline and like redshirting and just taking it all in. But in terms of me playing and being a factor in the game, I think that Oregon game was pretty special because that game was so back and forth. And Oregon was a really good football team, good football program, has a lot of talent on that team, and we felt the same way about ourselves. And there's a lot of uncertainty about whether we were going to finish strong in the season based off two losses we felt like we shouldn't have lost. And getting over that hump was probably the probably the pinnacle of my college football career, honestly, because we could have easily just tanked that game and just lost the rest of them, and that could have been the legacy of the 22 Huskies and all the seniors. That could have been on their legacy, but we ended up finding some resiliency within ourselves and came together as a team and finished that thing out. And it's probably one of the most special moments of my life, honestly.
Well, cool. I mean, obviously you yourself finished strong there. And again, we've already been talking about, I mean, you came to our game. I felt like you did an excellent job, here. And I guess right now what we got is your training. You're working towards your pro day. So where are you training at right now?
So I'm not gonna say I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm about an hour out from Pittsburgh. I'm in this small town called Mercer, in Grove City. About, yeah, like I said, about 50 to an hour from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm training with Terry Grossetti up here.
Nice. So when we're looking at like the you in this process that you're going through right now, I mean, what are some things that you are wanting to accomplish whenever that pro day rolls around? Like, do you have any target as it stands to like maybe numbers that you want to achieve or whatever? I mean, what's something that you want to want to do when that pro day rolls around?
Yeah, I just want to run faster than what we do at the mock pro day in a couple weeks. Because I honestly don't know what my 40 time. I think the last time I ran a 40 was probably I think I ran a 4.53 my sophomore year when I was playing receiver. And I haven't ran a 40 since. So, obviously something underneath that will be pretty nice. Something in the 4.4 range would be pretty nice. Definitely. I don't know about my vertical. I don't know about my broad jump. I don't think I've ever really tested for those. Healthy wise, I've never really tested for those. So
Gotcha. But obviously those are things you're working on right now, correct?
correct.
Cool, cool. Well, Alex, as we begin to wrap things up, obviously you got a lot going on right now. You're training. You're very busy, obviously, because you're up and moving around.
Yeah, I'm trying to get ready and talk to you at the same time.
No, it's all good. But hey, man, last thing I want you to do before you do anything else is to look in that camera and talk to all the other scouts that maybe you haven't talked to already and tell them why they need to draft you. Tell them what separates you and why you would be a great asset for their team. So go ahead and close out with that.
Yeah, I think you guys should draft me because one, I have instincts unlike any other. I've been playing football since I was a young kid, since I was 6 years old. So, I mean, I have a great feel for the game. One thing I really harp on for myself is just not the individual accolades, but, lifting up my teammates and making sure they're the best players they can be. And, being a spiritual, motivational guy for my teammates. And another reason you guys should draft me is, I'm still improving as a defensive back. I think when you look at me in my final season, you see a lot of things that I did well, and you see some things that he can work on. And those are things I'm still working on to this day, and I'll continue working on. So, I'm an unfinished product. So, what you see on the film is definitely not a finished product. And so I'm still getting better. I'm still grinding, still trying to work on the weaknesses in my game and improve my strengths. So that's what you guys are gonna get.
Well, hey man, definitely appreciate the honesty, because hey, if you're your biggest critique, if you always want to, try and get better each and every day, I mean, certainly that's something that a lot of teams are going to look at for you. I mean, and we've already talked about it. I mean, you're a great teammate, a guy who can, be a leader, like you said, a guy with a good, good understanding of the game, actually, from both sides, which I think is great. So, but hey, Alex, do appreciate your time, and wish you very best of luck in this process. All right, man.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. I appreciate the call.
Sure, no problem. Once again, Alex Cook, safety out of Washington. Definitely check him out.
Sir, later.